Now he's going to describe his life after he's been liberated from the law of sin and death. There is now, therefore. He lived with condemnation under the law, no matter how much he kept it. There is now, therefore, no condemnation to those in Christ Jesus who do not walk after the flesh, but after the Spirit.
That's right.
For the law of the Spirit of life in Christ Jesus has made me free from the law of sin and of death. You see, what was impossible for the law, in that it was weak through the flesh, God did when He sent His own Son in the form of sinful flesh. And as for sin, He condemned sin. Jesus condemned sin while He was walking around in a human body. He had died to sin while He was walking around with people. First human being in existence to ever do such a thing. And He was doing it by the power of the life that His Father had given Him. And He knew He had to die so that you would have that life and you could be free from the law of sin and death and have fellowship with Him. Amen. It was impossible for the law, but God did it. Amen. So that the righteousness that the law kept talking about might be fulfilled in us who do not walk after the flesh, but after the Spirit. For those who are after the flesh, mind the things of the flesh. But those who are after the Spirit, the things of the Spirit. For to be carnally minded is death. But to be spiritually minded is life and peace. That's what you've been called to. Life and peace. No condemnation. Been delivered out of the... Been transformed. Transferred, Paul said. Transported. Beamed up. Out of the kingdom of darkness into the kingdom of His dear Son, where life reigns, not death. Because the carnal mind, that's the ordinary human mind, is hostile to God. That's why you see the very best humans hate the truth. It's hostile to God. What is really God? It's not hostile to religion. It's hostile to God. It is not subject to God's law. Neither indeed can it be. It's impossible. So then those who are in the flesh cannot please God. Impossible. But you are not in the flesh, but in the Spirit, if indeed the Spirit of God dwells in you. Now, if anyone does not have the Spirit of Christ, he does not belong to Him. You know, I've heard a number of people, Baptist ministers in the seminary and people outside of there, say Romans chapter 7, where Paul's talking about he has to sin, describe Paul as an apostle. That's the kind of life he lived. If that were true, he could not write this chapter 8. He'd have known nothing about this chapter 8 if that was the case. That was how Paul used to be. Now he's thanking God for being delivered from that life. Yeah. But if Christ be in you, although the body is dead already because of sin, dead to God, the Spirit is life because of righteousness. And if the Spirit of Him who raised Jesus from the dead dwell in you, He who raised Christ from the dead shall also bring to life your mortal bodies by the Spirit that dwells in you. Paul had to stop and shout there too.
You ready to leave?
Woo!
Shut up, take a ball.